Good morning. Welcome to your program agenda. And unfortunately, I seem to be having a feedback here. In case you're wondering, with our setup this morning, we encountered two power failures, courtesy of Batangas Electric Cooperative. And now we need to switch to the phone because we don't trust if they will cut the power in the middle of it all. Okay, today is August 21, 2023. It's a Monday and it's a holiday. I do hope that you will spend a few minutes praying for our national hero. I think he's a national hero or hero, Benigno Aquino, Ninoy Aquino. And just remember that he died in the fight for freedom, democracy, and I think that deserves our prayers and our gratitude. Moving on, today we have two guests. One is a senator who has been leading the fight against POGO, and the other one is immigration official who will tell us Good morning. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for joining us and being patient with us. I'm so sorry, but as I mentioned earlier, we've had 2 power cut-offs from Batelec, Batangas Electric, and we have had to shift to several devices. Anyway, it's August 21, 2023. It's a Monday, and let's go straight to our daily starter from St. Francis of Assisi, and it goes start by doing what's necessary, then what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. I mentioned earlier that, this is our daily starter, and I do hope that you will consider this in whatever you are planning. Just start, and then you will get to your end goal eventually. Now, for today, we have 2 guests, so we will go straight to our main program. And let's go read the front page of the Philippine Star for a quick review, and then we do the interviews. The headline for today in the Philippine Star: United States, Japan, Australia plan joint drill in the South China Seas. Okay, show of force. The United States, Japan, and Australia are planning a joint Navy drill in the South China Sea off the Western Philippines this week to underscore their commitment to the rule of law in the region after a recent show of Chinese aggression in disputed waters. At the top, Transport Group Pasang Mazda files 1 peso fare hike petition tomorrow. Angat Water Dam level drops again in spite of filling up with water during the 2 weeks of rain. Angat Dam is now a much lower water level, and there will be water rationing again. Meanwhile, Ninoy supporters ask Pinoys defy fake news and deception. On the eve of the 40th death anniversary of Benigno Aquino Jr., dozens of the senator's supporters and members of political groups called on Filipinos to defy fake news and widespread deception that they say are perpetrated by the Marcos administration. In sports, Spain bags FIFA Women's World Cup. Okay, in a score of 1-0, the Spanish women's team came out as champions of the recently concluded Women's World Cup for football. And on the bottom part of the front page, DOH to suffer 10 billion budget cut in 2024. According to Congressman Ralph Recto of Batangas, the DOH will be getting 500,000 pesos additional for their cancer prevention, cancer treatment programs, but will suffer 10 billion budget cuts because of the government's priority for debt servicing and the cost of salaries for a bloated bureaucracy. Meanwhile, Senator Raffy Tulfo is pushing for higher penalties for environmental offenses as well as development or presentation of a well-structured flood management plan. And to the side of that, we have photos of basketball teams from Egypt and Mexico arriving at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport on Saturday ahead of the FIBA World Cup opening in Manila on August 25. That's this weekend, Friday. And we have at left, International Basketball Federation President Hamane Niang is welcomed by Al Pandillo, President of the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas and Second Vice President of FIBA. Last piece of news, rice sold at 38 pesos per kilo at Kadiwa stores. Okay, so that covers all our news for all the news we have for the front page. And now we go for a quick break before we go to the interviews. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
A Philippine offshore gaming operator or POGO firm owes the government a whopping 2.2 billion pesos in receivables. Unfortunately, the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation or PAGCOR will no longer be able to get this. During the budget deliberation in the House last week, PAGCOR Chief Alejandro Tenco said the firm's foreign national officers disappeared like bubbles and sneaked out of the country. What's worse, the POGO firm has no local incorporators to be held accountable. How can we prevent situations like this among POGO firms in the future? Let's discuss this on today's agenda.
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is currently the Senate Committee Chairman on Ways and Means. He is also the concurrent chairman of the Senate Committee on Basic Education. Prior to being a senator, Gatchalian was 1st District Representative of Valenzuela. He also served as mayor of the city.
Good morning, Mr. Senator. Welcome back to the program.
Morning, Cito. Good morning to our televiewers. Magandang umaga.
I understand you have no holidays, you have no weekends. Galing ka ng Ilocos to help out our affected kababayans there. What was the situation like, Senator?
Well, Cito, I went to Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, and Abra. It seems like everything has gone back to normal. Except for some areas that are still inundated with floodwaters. And what's important now is going back to normalcy. So the local government, when I went there, the local governments are still in the midst of giving out aid to our constituents. So we went there to give them additional support in order to help out their constituents.
Well, that's good because, you know, we don't want people to think that they are forgotten in the time of their greatest need. Anyway, today we invited you, we asked you to join us because you have always been the champion or the primary legislator who has been tackling this issue of POGO. And as you may have heard from our introductory video, the government lost about 2.2 billion to one POGO operator. Now, I picked up this topic once again because lately there have been a couple of raids conducted by the DOJ, the Bureau of Immigration. And what's shocking is the people that they arrested in Pampanga, some were the same people they arrested in Pasay again a few weeks or a month later. And it seems na parang palipat-lipat lang sila. What is the situation after all the Senate investigations, after all the hearings that were conducted? Where are we regarding POGO, Mr. Senator?
Okay. Well, Cito, let me just backtrack a bit before I answer that. the reason why I recommended to completely ban POGO is because the cost does not outweigh the benefits, meaning we're losing more opportunities because of reputational risk, meaning our country is being damaged by the crime and by the human trafficking issues that are being broadcast around the world. So despite our president's effort and our government's effort to lure foreign direct investments here in our country, because of this reputational risk, we're not maximizing the potential of our country by boosting foreign direct investments. In fact, that's one of my questions to the DBCC. We need to, wag tayong kapit patalim, no? We need to attract businesses that are high in terms of foreign direct investment, but does not carry with it crime. The thing with this, the issue with this POGO is it carries with it crime, and it became the gateway for criminals. Now I will segue into your question. Over the past 30 days, we've seen close to about 3,000 human traffic victims rescued, 1,000 plus in Clark, and then 2,000 plus here in Las Piñas. And last week, they opened 4 vaults taken out of that Las Piñas POGO hub. And apparently, the vaults contained very disturbing items. So for example, tasers, handcuffs, guns, and bullets. And at the same time, a plethora of SIM cards and also telephones, because apparently these telephones are being used for e-wallets. So in other words, POGOs have become gateways for criminals. So it doesn't only bring hardened criminals to the country, but now it brings scams, crypto scams, love scams, and human trafficking activities to our country.
Okay, so having said that, what happened to all the investigations? Because you already laid that out when you were doing the hearings in the Senate. Nothing new. I mean, you yourself said all of this has been existing, but all we hear about are raids. When do we officially ban these criminal activities? Because I can't even call them businesses anymore. They're you know, all they're simply criminal activity.
You're absolutely correct, Cito. I think you described it aptly. Businesses, you conduct business, you make money, but you don't generate crime. No? But with this, they conduct business, they make money, but at the same time they generate crime. No? So it's not a business. You're right. No, it's not a business. It's a criminal activity. I think that's a very accurate description. And it doesn't mean that even though it's generating revenue, it does generate revenue for the country. We have to open our arms and embrace them. In fact, the revenue that they are generating for the country is not even accurate. In the earlier news report, 2.2 billion pesos disappeared from payment to PAGCOR, meaning they're not paying the right amount to PAGCOR, they're not paying the right amount to BIR, and these are only the amounts that COA have seen. We don't know what COA have not seen yet, because these are all activities outside of the main licensee. Happens out of the Philippines, but there's service providers. Ito yung mga yung mga nakikita natin on TV happen here in the Philippines. So just to answer your question, it's a continuous battle against POGOs, and we just have to keep on speaking out and pointing out the evils that come with it. We made our recommendation already to the president, and the last time I talked to the president, he's very concerned. So we have to keep on fighting.
Yeah, but isn't it possible? And I'm really, asking an innocent question, Senator Gatchalian. Isn't it possible for you and for the Senate to pass a law to officially declare POGO, this form of Like I said, it's a criminal activity. Ban it, declare it by law as illegal in the Philippines.
That is possible. In fact, in 2021, during the pandemic, there were promises made by POGO, meaning if we legitimize POGO here in the Philippines, we were going to get X amount of money. I think to a tune of 40 to 50 billion pesos a year. But that never happened. And in fact, in 2021, because of that promise, Congress and the Senate passed a law to tax POGO, impliedly legitimizing them. But that never happened. That 40 to 50 billion pesos never happened. On the contrary, what came to our shores are crimes, fugitives, all of these criminal activities. But yes, to answer your question, yes, it can be done. It can be done in two ways: completely ban it, or outlaw it, and at the same time revoke the taxing regime that was accorded to POGOs.
Okay, in your excuse me, in your Senate investigation, have you made other discoveries? Because there seems to be a pattern, Mr. Senator. There's a pattern that these POGO operators love to do business in three particular places: Pasay, Las Piñas, and in Pampanga. And Pampanga is supposed to be a economic zone, but that's not an economic enterprise. That's a criminal activity. And this is not the first time that we hear of Pampanga. It is it's a recurring event and process. We seem to be addressing it only as a police matter. Is there any deeper concern, money laundering, corruption, bribery involving government officials or elected officials? Because from my sources tell me that there are a couple of judges that are now being investigated because of dismissed cases, etc.
Well, Cito, I think it goes without thinking that corruption is happening here, because from the moment these fugitives, we have to bear in mind that in the last hearing, it came out that about 17 or 18 fugitives. Fugitives meaning these are people who have warrants of arrest in China, but they are operating and roaming around our country freely. So from the moment these fugitives and these criminal elements come to our country, there's already corruption. From the moment it's set up here in the Philippines, and apparently it's being expected, but nothing is being reported, that's already corruption. And earlier you mentioned also cases filed, but I also saw from news report there were a lot of dismissals of those cases, possible corruption as well. Because if you look at the nature of this business, you have to go to analyze the nature and the deeper nature of this business. It's all illegal, because in China, POGO is illegal, and they not discourage, but it's a criminal activity to bet in POGO, to participate in POGO. Therefore, if you set up anything that is related to POGO in China, it's banned. So what happened is all of these criminal activities and criminal elements came to jurisdictions where they allow POGO, and we're the only one already here in Southeast Asia. Actually, we're the only one in the world that allows POGO. So they came here to the Philippines. And these criminal activities are also quite smart. They know how to navigate our laws. They know how to navigate the government. They know how to make money work by promoting corruption in our different institutions.
Are you satisfied with the level or commitment of our law enforcement and the Department of Justice? I'm not. I don't want to be sowing intrigues or starting a feud, but I have the impression that what we're looking at is like a mafia situation in the 50s, 60s in the US, where they eventually had to come up with the RICO law, the anti-racketeering corruption law. What actions are you planning to take that will find, because I'm sure you're getting tired of this,
Yeah.
it just keeps coming back to your table.
Yeah, I'm getting really tired and frustrated, Rico, but we cannot give up. It's for promoting peace and order for our country, and we cannot give up because I want a peaceful society and a peaceful Philippines. That's why we have to keep on pushing and bringing this out to the fore. But that's also my biggest fear. Actually, my biggest fear is for these elements, whoever they are. No, I don't know any personally. I don't know any one of them to be stronger and more involved in government. These elements know how to use money, no? And it's really scary that they can creep into the different government institutions like the Bureau of Immigration, the police, even the judiciary, as you mentioned earlier, even the regulators. These are really scary. In fact, we're creating monsters, monsters that control our government, monsters that control our enforcers. And who do we go to if all of these things are now controlled by these criminal elements? And we've seen that in other jurisdictions, and we've seen that in other businesses. So that's why my call is to already ban them, because once they control the enforcers of our government, the Filipinos have nowhere to go to.
Yeah, the question, Senator Gatchalian, is will your colleagues in the Senate as well as in Congress support such a proposed bill or a law that totally bans POGO in the country?
I think it will gain support, at least here in the Senate, because I know some of our colleagues are really also very concerned, and they want, again, all of us want a peaceful Philippines. For example, Senator Grace Poe just texted me, and she wants to ban POGO because she received reports of all of these syndicates operating here in the Philippines. Senator Joe Villanueva and senators are really concerned that these POGOs have become entryway. They became a venue. It's not just business, but it became an entry point for criminal activities to come here, pretend to operate like a legitimate business, but at the back, like for example, the one in Las Piñas, behind it is a huge scamming activity that lures Filipinos as well as foreigners to come to the Philippines in the promise of better pay. But what happened is they illegally detain them, they scare them, and that's the bigger concern of POGOs operating in our country.
Okay, so is the pressure on the DOJ now, or who is essentially responsible now? Because we will be interviewing the Bureau of Immigration in a while, but who has the ball now?
Actually, it's the executive side who has control and decision whether to continue this or not, especially PAGCOR, because PAGCOR is the regulator of POGO. Mm-hmm. And because of these hearings, because of all of these issues coming out on media, they came out with several reforms that will really put a tab on POGOs. For example, this is actually scary. Cito, they disclosed in the committee hearings that they discovered that these licensees are doing sub-licensing activities. So in other words, PAGCOR does not know who is the real licensee, because they're doing sub-licensees to not one, but to many different licensees. And that's not allowed in their rules. So if you are turning a blind eye, or if you are allowing sub-licensing happening in our country, we don't know who are the real personalities operating in the Philippines. And in fairness to PAGCOR, they reform the new management. They reform their procedures to put strict regulation, strict monitoring on POGOs. But despite those reforms, we see that a lot of these quote-unquote legitimate licensed POGOs are the ones embroiled in crime and corruption.
Okay. Before we finish up, Senator, I'd like to give you an opportunity to discuss. I know you have so many things on your plate right now. Anything of a particular concern or priority for you that you'd like to talk about today?
Well, I'll shift a little bit, Cito, no, to remove my Ways and Means hat and put my education hat. We're pushing for the Education Commission 2, or the what we call the EDCOM 2 for short, is in full blast. And the goal of this is to improve learner outcomes. And we're very happy to note that we have we're on track in reviewing and recommending some reforms to improve the education system in our country. We were very actively participating in that new curriculum that was released a few weeks ago. The new curriculum, in my opinion, is a game changer in a sense that it will help our students absorb the lessons and master the lessons, especially on literacy and numeracy.
How does that happen, Senator? Because everybody heard the slogan, everybody heard the matatag curriculum or this and that, but people just kind of whatever. They don't really know why it's better.
But Cito, in short, no, there's a lot of good features in that new curriculum. But one of the most important, and this people probably don't realize this, is for kindergarten to K3, which is called Key Stage 1. These are the formative years and the foundational years of our students. We will focus on reading, writing, and math. And we will do away with other subjects that are not so important for that key stage level. So in other words, if you look at the data is saying that our students 90% of our students cannot understand a simple story. So meaning the foundations for education is very weak at the early stage of basic education. And we recommended that to the DepEd through EDCOM. And DepEd, after many consultations, after many activities, they managed to come out with a curriculum that is simple, that is focused on foundational skills. And this is very important so that our students will have time to study and our teachers will have time to teach.
So from kindergarten to grade 3, it will only be about reading, writing, and math.
Mostly. Just to give you an example, before for that key stage level, they'll have 7 or 8 subjects. So students students are bombarded with a lot of competencies and subjects, but they don't learn anything. So DepEd reduced it by 5 subjects and reduced the number of competencies. So it's not about volume of subjects, it's about mastery of the subjects. And that's what we recommended. And we're happy to note that DepEd took that and now they're going to launch that this coming school year.
Well, that's great news because I being in the provinces a lot, I see that quite often, especially when you ask people to write. Yung kumbaga, okay, list down what you need, and they can't even write the proper name. Sabi ko, kokopyahin mo na lang yung pangalan dun sa lata, hindi pa nila masulat na correct. So clearly, the fundamentals, the foundation is not there. Let me just digress. I know you're more on the K-12 side of education, but I recently wrote an article regarding the direction of the Management Association of the Philippines, suggesting that there be an alternative to college, like skills, etc. What are your view? What's your view regarding alternative training or VocTech for instead of college? Because marami hindi kayang mag-college.
Yeah, I agree, Cito. In fact, let's strengthen the tech-voc side of post-secondary education. In fact, that's already embedded in our senior high school, and we're reforming that. we're adding assessment and certifications in our senior high school so that when they graduate, they will have their diploma and they'll have their certification for their skills. So we're moving to strengthen the TechVoc side of our senior high school students or senior high school level, and also post-secondary, because in many jurisdictions, TechVoc is the way to go in order to get employed as quick as possible. In fact, in Finland, when we went there, there are only two kinds. No, they call it the academic track, which is for college. This is for college. The academic track, if you want to conduct research, if you want to do masteral and doctorate, and there's also what they call applied college. No, so in other words, you don't need to study 4, 5, 6 years. You only need to study 3 years, but you learn the application of your course, because that is more important in terms of getting a job right away.
3 years of applied college and not 4 to 10 years where the student becomes the source of income for colleges and universities. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Cito.
Senator Win Gatchalian. Have a great day and great week ahead of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's Senator Win Gatchalian. That's a very important announcement, and we will now go for a break. When we return, let's speak with our favorite person at the Bureau of Immigration here on Agenda.
Authorities recently seized several items, including almost 7 million pesos in cash, in a Philippine offshore gaming operator or POGO hub in Pasay City. Aside from this, 32 vaults within SA Rivendell Gaming Corporation, a POGO suspected of being a fraudulent hub, were raided. This resulted in the seizure of 24,000 pre-registered SIM cards, more than 9,000 mobile phones, passports, credit cards, and various documents such as contracts. 28 foreign nationals were detained and are facing criminal charges for violation of the Securities Regulation Code and the Cybercrime Prevention Act. How can the government zero in on those crimes linked to POGOs? Let's discuss this further on today's agenda.
Dana Sandoval is the spokesperson of Bureau of Immigration since 2018. She is also the Bureau's Deputy Chief for Administration. Sandoval also used to teach at the Philippine Immigration Academy.
Good morning, Ms. Dana Sandoval. Welcome back to the program Agenda.
Good morning, Sir Cito, and of course, good morning to all the viewers of the program Agenda. First of all, I'm so sorry for my voice. I came from a world tour like Taylor Swift, so I don't have a voice today.
Akala ko ikaw yung nag-concert. Nanood ka pala ng concert.
No,
Anyway,
hindi po. Joke
Okay.
lang po yun, hindi ako nanonood.
Okay, well, anyway, kidding aside, comedy aside, our subject matter today is a serious concern of the
Mhm.
Bureau of Immigration because your agency, the Bureau, has been in the forefront of raiding all of these illegal POGO hubs, going after illegal aliens, criminal elements. What is our situation in that area, Ms. Sandoval?
Yes, Sir Cito. For those companies that have been rated by the PNP and the NBI, two things ang tinitingnan dyan. They are looking at two things. The criminal aspect, which is handled by the local law enforcement agency. So this is for trafficking. This is for the other violations that might be seen in the area. There's also an immigration aspect because the workers there are foreign nationals. So it follows that we look at their documents, we look at what they're doing, if it's in line with their visa, the visas that were granted to them. If we see a violation, and we have seen violations here during the several raids that were conducted by local law enforcement agencies, we will file a deportation case. So sabay po yan naaandar kung meron, if they have a local criminal case and a deportation case from the Bureau of Immigration. Those two cases will push through, and the deportation will be implemented after the resolution of the local court cases.
We're talking about two different sets of aliens here. One set are the criminals, the perpetrators, the operators of the POGO or the human traffickers, and the other set are the victims, the people who were promised jobs in the Philippines, that they will have all of their documents, etc., but end up being held hostage, kidnapped, or trafficked in those POGO or sublet for POGO operations. Now, yung mga victims, what is the percentage of victims from the population of those arrested by the BI?
Siguro po hindi ko lang mabigay yung figures because it's the NBI and the PNP that are determining who are to be filed cases for criminal charges and who are considered victims. It's the NBI and the PNP. But in our case, even the victims, if we see violations din po kasi, they are ordered to leave the country because in most cases, these foreign nationals are working without the proper visa or have violations in their visas. For example, they are working in this company, but they are registered to another company. That's very common in the raids that we've been seeing kasi nag-aagawan sila ng workers. So if they are working for this company and their registration is for another company, that's considered a violation and they will also be ordered to leave. But from what I believe, they will not be there will not be any criminal charges issued against them by the local law enforcement agencies.
Okay, what is the philosophy or the policy of the Bureau of Immigration? Because some people in the past have said, just write them down, process them, and kick them out. Bakit papakainin pa natin? Why will we spend court procedures? Why will we spend money for lawyers and prosecutors, etc.? What prevents the immigration from just grabbing them? Okay, write them down, picture, o padala na sa airport yan.
Well, for one, Sir Cito, if they have local cases here in the Philippines, like those who have been raided, and nakita that they are traffickers or they might be part of the group, then we have to wait for the resolution of those local cases before we can implement any deportation. And of course, there's also a procedure for deportation. But for these cases, actually, Sir Cito, ito talaga yung fina-fast track natin for the big cases. If you can remember, the first one was in Palawan. I think there were it was also a POGO hub, and there were around 300 foreign nationals there. That was the priority of the of the immigration, particularly to fast track the big raids, because it takes up so much government efforts, so much logistics has to be put into looking after those who have been arrested. So it's our priority also to fast track the ones that have been recently arrested. But of course, if they have local cases here in the Philippines, that is what will prevent us from immediately implementing deportations.
Okay. Now, as far as the recent cases are concerned, napansin ko lang, Dana, the one in Pampanga, in Clark, that seems to be a recurring thing. So I don't know if it's inside Clark or near the Clark facility, but mukhang lagi din yung raid. And in this recent memory, I know 2 raids were already conducted within the span of 1 year yata. What's going on? Parang you would think hindi na umuulit lagi.
I remember there's one in Clark before, I think around 2019 or so. Sir Cito, looking at the bigger picture, because we recently attended in Thailand an immigration forum of ASEAN countries. And one thing that was discussed there is this exact same problem. There are many Asian countries that are already experiencing this exact same problem. And we do not, this is in the macro perspective already, we do not just see this in the Chinese nationals, we also see this in Filipinos who are being recruited to Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand. It's the same thing. And we see this as a big syndicate, a large syndicate that are operating in several countries. So dun sa forum po na yon, we saw that it's not just a major problem of the Philippines, but it's also something that other Asian countries are experiencing and is also being a big problem to them
Yeah.
already.
Dana, how, like I saw on CNA, I think, Cable News Asia, has to wonder, how do they get in that quickly? Are we not strict with this? Because the criticism against the Bureau of Immigration is ang higpit-higpit nyo sa mga Pilipinang palabas. Pero, and I'm sorry, alam mo, kakampi nyo ko, but sinasabi nga, pero ang luwag naman ninyo sa mga kriminal na mga pumapasok. Why is there the seeming imbalance in the strictness?
It's true, Sir Cito. Siguro hindi lang masyadong na highlight that we are also implementing arrival formalities, that we are also excluding foreign nationals with doubtful purpose of travel. And if we see po that they are here for other activities, scamming activities, or other such criminal activities, or if they have a derogatory record here in the Philippines, then they are being sent out. They are not allowed to enter the country. But in many cases, Sir Cito, when they enter the country with complete documents as a tourist, they have their round trip ticket, they have their accommodation and all. But they are allowed to enter here the country because they have complete documentation. but doon nagkakatalo sa kanilang intention.
But
When
does the BI verify? In other countries, I've heard na tatawagan yung hotel mo randomly. Meron bang booking itong si Sandoval dyan sa inyo? Do we do that in the Philippines, or it's just really, at port formalities?
We do po, we do. In cases that nakita natin that there might be misrepresentation for foreign nationals, we do that. We do verifications with, sometimes there's companies who are inviting them for business trip or whatever. We do verify with them.
Okay. What about backtracking? Because may mga repeat offenders daw nahuli ninyo in the media reports that the Bureau of Immigration was quoted as saying, nahuli na namin to sa Pampanga, nahuli na naman namin dito sa Las Piñas. And do you do backtracking on the people who actually allowed those foreigners entry into the Philippines? Because, we've had the Pastilla scam, we've had all the other issues. Do you do internal investigations regarding this as well, Dana?
Yes, that's one thing that we're also looking at, yung arrival details and the entire travel history of the foreign national. If we see something fishy going on, we conduct an internal investigation against immigration officers that might be involved in the arrival of these foreign nationals. Apart from that, Sir Cito, we are also looking into filing cases against the owners of these companies, whether they may be Filipino or foreign nationals, for harboring illegal aliens. Kasi paulit-ulit na po na nakikita natin itong mga scam hubs na to. And since we are the first country to raise alarm, the BI is actually the first agency to raise alarm against this scam. We want to be the first then to implement concrete measures to stop this from happening, because it's happening in other countries. We want
Okay.
it to stop here. Bahala na sila kung saan sila maggawa, but not here in the Philippines.
Okay. Last question, Dana. We expect so much from the Bureau of Immigration, but does the Bureau of Immigration have enough in terms of budget, resources, and personnel to actually do what it's sworn to do and expected to do?
Well, Sir Cito, we can say siguro na it's never enough. It's never enough, particularly in terms of personnel, because in Singapore they have, I think, a lot of immigration officers, more than what we have. It's a smaller country than us, and they don't have many islands. But here in the Philippines, we have around 2,000 organic personnel and 3,000 overall personnel. So that's for the entire Philippines already.
Wow, we have 7,100 islands.
Yes.
You have about 3,000 employees at the Bureau of Immigration. So that already tells us that it's just so much of a job and a responsibility, and the Bureau of Immigration needs our support and our prayers. Well, you have our support, Dana, and we will continue to be available to the Bureau if you need any message to be conveyed to the public. Thank you very much for your time, Dana. Pahinga ka na, naaawa na ako sa iyo dahil kasi nag-concert ka kagabi. Okay, thank you, Dana Sandoval.
Thank you, Sir Cito, and thank you, everyone. Good morning.
Okay, that's Dana Sandoval, spokesperson of the Bureau of Immigration. And that last question puts everything in perspective, ladies and gentlemen. We have 7,100 islands, and we have approximately 3,000 Bureau of Immigration personnel. So, hindi na math, arithmetic na lang, talo talaga sila. Okay, let's go to our final blessing, our blessing for the week. And let's close the program with this blessing from Johnson Oatman. When upon life's billows you are tempest-tossed, when you are discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord hath done. Johnson Oatman, thank you very much for joining us and being patient with us this morning. We hope that everything will be better technically tomorrow. God bless all of you. Please keep us in your prayers, Team Agenda, and please keep it here on One News.